Now, I love painting the same mini over and over 100 times as much as the next person. But every now and then, it's nice to just try something a little different. And so, that's what I did this week. Instead of painting more of my latest army, I painted an Infinity model that was different from anything else that I painted before and allowed me to use everything that I've learned up until this point. And I don't know if I like it. This is Longwang. Seriously, that's his name. And he is an Infinity figure that Corvus Belli sent me a while back, and it's been sitting on my shelf for months, and I've wanted to paint it, but I just never had a real reason to. And then I decided that the reason was as simple as I just wanted something different. I love painting the army that I'm painting right now. I love the color scheme that I've picked. But after painting 5, 6, 7, 8 things the same color, and sure, they can have different poses, they can have different things, but after doing the same thing, like, you start to go like colorblind. At least I do. And so I thought, I have got to paint something different. And I've learned so much while painting this army. Let's see if it can move over to this. And one of the big things that I have learned along the way is that you can do the best paint job that there is, but if your base sucks, it just kind of brings everything else down. And so I also wanted to do a little bit better of a base and try things out. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot from this process, and I'm happy with how it turned out. I really am. Could it have turned out better? Yes. Could I have done better? Yes. Just looking at this picture that Corvus Belli had done professionally, I thought, man, I should have used more colors. Why do I always try to keep everything into this, 3 or 4 color scheme that I'm trying to do? And anyway, I learned a lot, but I also had a blast painting this, and I'm ready to go back to painting my army now, just after doing something a little bit different. But before we do that, let's talk about the process of how I painted this miniature. The first thing that I did when I started putting this model together was make the base. I wanted to be something cool, broken up road with a pipe and things like that. And so I put that all together. It was just glue and stuff, so that's not a big deal. And then I decided that I wanted to paint this model orange. And I wanted to try a cool dark shade that was different from orange. And so as I was looking at pictures, I saw purple, and I thought, purple is not a bad choice. Let's base coat this thing in purple, and then we'll work our way up, because that's one of the things that I'm trying to start doing with when I paint my models. And so I pulled out that turbo dark purple and base coated the whole thing, and I was loving how it looked when it was done. And of course I didn't do the gun because I wasn't going to paint the gun orange, and so I just kind of left it black. And then I wanted to start working up in my colors to get to that orange, and I wanted like a light orange. And so I thought, well, what's the transition? What color should I start with? And so I was like, well, it's got to be purple to red to orange. And I couldn't just do like a standard red first, so I had to do like a crimson dark sanguine red, right? And all these paints are the P3 paints that I started using after I did the base coat, which was the turbo dark. But so I started with this just deep purple red, and I really, really liked how it looked. And I honestly thought, maybe this is how they came up with the color scheme for Magneto. Because, it's like that red and purple, but it gets even more Magneto later on. But I started with this, and I thought, I'm going to do everything except for the gears and things like that are the deep parts of the model, because I'm going to start doing less and less as I go up the model. And what I mean by that is I start with this red, and I do the most of this color. It's everything that's going to be orange needs to have this color on it as much as I can possibly do. And then when I move up to the next color, the lighter red, I do a little bit less. So I don't go all the way to the edges with that next color. And you'll see that as I go. But that's kind of the process that I was moving through here, is that I wanted to start with the most at the base and then slightly move up more and more and more, so that you have that easy transition between the colors. It's kind of like a way of blending that isn't glazing over and over again. And so that's what I'm doing here. I moved over to that Khador red, and I thought, you know, I really like this red. It's a bright, it's a good transition to orange too, because it's such a bright red. But that's exactly what I wanted to do here, was do a little bit less. And I apologize, I'm still getting used to painting everything on camera. I got some great ideas of, you know, making like a box in tape so I know where to stay all the time, but who knows if I'll stay there. I'm pretty pretty crappy at staying in camera when I paint stuff, but we're getting there. And so as you can see here, I'm not going all the way to the edges. I'm going close to the edges, but not all the way. And in certain spots I will go all the way to the edge, just because I feel like the light isn't going to be hitting that spot so much, you know. And so I'll definitely go further and less depending on what's going to hit the light. Whatever's going to be in the light needs to be the most orange eventually. And so I'll make sure I get those parts, especially on like the arms and stuff like that. I'm going to go all the way to the top where the light would be, because I want that to be the shiny points. I want that to be where the model looks the most orange when I'm done with it. As I was painting this guy, I also remembered something else. I was thinking about the game Infinity and how fun it is and how like quick it is, and you know, the back and forth. It's a fantastic tabletop skirmisher, right? And as I was thinking about it, I remembered it's also one of the only games that you can get into for about $40. And what I mean by that is they have their new Essentials pack. Okay, in the Essential pack, it comes with 3 units from 2 different armies. The Pan-Oceania are the blue guys, and the JSA are the red and white, and both very, very cool factions. The JSA, I mean, they're space samurais. They got laser swords and just mechs and people on motorcycles. Like, they're awesome. But just to start out, this is a perfect little box that comes with everything you need to play. Now, is it a full game? No, of course not. It's 3 models from each faction. But it's a nice sit down, play in 45 minutes to an hour, learn how it's going, play a few games, decide if it's something that you want to do. And again, that investment is like $40 to $50. And I just feel like you can't do better than that. It comes with terrain, it comes with a playmat, all the dice that you need, cards for the characters. Like, it is an amazing little set. And so I feel like I had to talk about that while I'm painting this guy. No, this guy's not a part of either of the armies that are in that box, but he's part of the same game. And it's not a super expensive game to get into. I mean, it's a tabletop war game. They're all kind of around the same up here price range, you know. They're not terrible, and you can get a full army for a couple $100, you know, and do tournament play if you want, or you can just buy the Essentials kit and play. Anyway, back to painting this guy. So once I had all of my Khador red, it was time to move up and into orange. Okay, this is the standard, like, this is the color that I wanted it to be. I wanted this orange and that purple. And I know it's kind of Halloween-y, but that's okay. We're getting closer to October anyway. That's all right. And I know that the purple seems so dominant, and I have some plans to fix that, and we'll go over that in a little bit. But for the time being, I was just hitting those red areas with the orange, and I was doing just like I did before, but this time I'm hitting a little less. And it was kind of nice because on my wet palette, I was putting these orange paints. Each paint I put down, I put a little bit less. And I ended up using just about everything that I put down. And then again, I am doing my best to focus on those areas where the sunlight's hitting them. And honestly, something I learned while doing this process, if you want to know where the sunlight is hitting they always tell you to take a picture, right? Put the model where it's going to be, put the light at the angle that you want it to be, and then take a picture of it. If you base coat in metallic and do that, you can see the colors so much better. Like you can see where the lights are going to be just because it reflects so much better. So just kind of a little, you know, if you're going to put metallics on it anyway, that base coat makes it a lot easier later on. But yeah, so once I had all my orange done, I wanted to do edge highlights, and so I moved up to the orangest yellow that I had and just started hitting those edge highlights. And I am no master of edge highlights, so you can see that some of these are kind of big and splotchy. That's okay. You can just go back with the orange and fix them and tighten those up and make them as thin as you want them to be. But here I am just hitting those focal points, just hitting those edges that I wanted to have that color, because ultimately I wanted him to be orange. I don't want him to be yellow. The edge highlights are just going to be to bring out that light and make it look a little more realistic. Then, like I was saying earlier, I didn't want that purple to shine through so much. I thought it looked good. I really did, but I kind of like that grimdark, grungy feel, especially when I have mechanical units like this, because I feel like there's going to be oil, there's going to be grease and things going on. And so I got my umber brown oil paint and made just a simple oil wash. And then I went ahead and coated the whole thing in that oil wash. And then I let it sit for about an hour, and then I came back and just with cotton swabs I removed as much of it as I could. And then, like I was saying at the beginning of this, I wanted a good base, and so I finished painting up the base. I used some UV resin to make it look like water was coming out of the pipe. Didn't do a very good job of that. I mean, it's water, it's coming out, it's dripping, it looks great, but it's also filling the whole pipe. So in the end, I learned a lot about how to do UV resin, and the next time I do it, I will do a better job. And I wanted to put down these leaves and things like that. And when I put them on it, I did not like how it looked because they weren't like leaf shaped. Like sometimes you gotta buy those weird tiny little leaf things, you know? And so I ended up taking those off. But in the end, I still had a base and a model that I was really happy with. So now, my question for you is, what models have you painted just for fun? What model did you see that you were like, I gotta paint this? Even if I don't play the game, even if I'll never play the game, I saw the model, I had to buy it, I wanted to paint it. And did you have fun painting it? I know sometimes people buy models thinking it's gonna be so great. I've 3D printed a bunch of models that I thought, this is gonna be awesome. And then just like halfway through, I'm just like miserable. There's too many pouches and compasses and whatnot on it, and I would hate it. But anyway, let me know in the comments below. And it's not the best thing I've ever painted. I feel like every episode I say it's the best because I feel like I'm always getting better. It's not the best thing I've ever painted, but I learned so much even from screwing things up. And I'm excited to take that and keep going forward. So if you like that, and if that's something that you agree with or you have dealt with, please like, subscribe, comment below, help this channel to grow. We are putting out stuff every week. If you hit that little bell next to the subscribe button, it will notify you whenever we put out a new video, and we would love to have you come back. Here at Pulsegate Games, we're all about making your tabletop experience the best it can be. And as always, don't spend so much time building your world that you forget to spend some time in it. Till next time.